gosh. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. You know what we do around here. So we got a final preview for this week's final episode of season 1. So without further ado, let's jump right in and give this a watch.
The Dark One is
Tarwin's
waiting.
Gap.
The whole world will burn.
Run may be the dragon. All 5 of you have a part to
Who's
play.
that?
Tell me how to find them. How many?
There must be at least 5 to 10,000.
What is it?
It's just another sign that the Dark One's strength is building.
They are calling for all women who can channel.
He knows where we are. He's coming.
Are you ready?
I know what that was. I'm sure I know what that was. Wow. Okay. Right, so let us break down this little teaser. So yeah, when I first saw this dropped, I didn't look at it because I thought we've already seen it. They showed us one on Tuesday or Monday, so I thought we wouldn't be getting one today. But anyways, yeah, so we start off with a look at Tarwin's Gap, and we can quite clearly make out we have a shit ton of Trollocs coming in through Tarwin's Gap. Now, of course, we have Lord Aegormar here looking out at these Trollocs, and I'm sure you can quite clearly see there's a fenced off area which is obviously being put there by the Faldarans to keep them at Lemp's bait. So that's not going to last a long time, I would say, in this episode. I think that's going to be clearly breached very quickly. Aegormar's talking to his sister, not much to say about that. But what's really interesting here is then we get a look at the Blight and subsequently the 5 people who have a part to play. Now the voice, I'm having a hard time and difficulty really figuring out who it is speaking. At first I thought it was Perrin because it kind of sounded a little bit like Perrin. But then he wouldn't be talking about himself, the 5 of you. He would be saying the 5 of us. So then that's clearly out of the window in terms of who it is to play speaking there. So that's really thrown me. I don't really know who it is. Maybe one of you watching this video can kind of figure out who it is speaking. I'm going to move on because I'm quite stuck and a bit fumbling around in that particular point in the preview. But up next we've got like a point of view of the Trollocs looking out at Faldara from the Blight, and that's quite an interesting look, I have to say. You can quite clearly see they've been boarded off from making their way into to Faldara, but of course with the sheer number going in and to attack Faldara this time, that's not going to be a problem whatsoever. Next up we see Lord Aegormar being briefed on just how many Trollocs there seems to be coming towards Faldara. So this is kind of like them now getting ready and prepared for a war. Unlike a war they've most likely faced in long lengths of time. I'd say this could be the biggest war they will have been in their lifetime. I could be completely wrong on that, but 5 to 10,000 Trollocs being a potential number, I think that would pretty much surmise that kind of being quite a believable statement that I've just made about it being their kind of biggest battle to date. I think they would be quite shocked by the sheer number of Trollocs coming towards them, but maybe not also surprised because of course Moiraine and Rand have gone into the Eye of the World now. So this is kind of like the Shadows counter-attack, if you want to call it that, against what the kind of Light are doing in their kind of quest. Then we get just a few more shots of all the Trollocs kind of rating right at the border, and you can see in the background there's a Fade there which is obviously in command of them. And he looks to be just kind of waiting for like that moment when everything's set into motion. Then we've got Min, who I think is either now in this scene, one, hearing the vast amount of Trollocs that are near Faldara now, or secondly, she could be seeing a kind of vision surrounding Egwene and Nynaeve here that we can't see because it's, you know, very much cut to keep it from us. I think it's one of the two here. And then we've got a couple of shots of not much going on. Then we've got Loyal. Finally, he returns from his vacation, wherever he ended up. God only knows. I really don't know what happened to him in that 7th episode, but he's made his way back. And he basically said any woman that can channel has to go out there. And I've kind of touched upon this in a way because there was kind of leaks that happened. You can see it in the previews. There seems to be an Aes Sedai among them that's going to be controlling all the other women. So she'll be like the link between them all, and she'll be the one conducting the weaves of the One Power when it comes time to use them on the Trollocs invading Faldara. And then you can quite clearly see we've got Lady Amilisa here. The Prime Video logo is blurring out who the other two people are, but I'm kind of suspecting it's a couple other women there. Hard to say who it is, but I think we've seen that shot before, and it's just before Egwene and Nynaeve join that group. So that's what that is about. And then finally we've got this kind of shot and scene again that we kind of were wondering what was going on there. But still, it's very kind of on its own. You can't really make much about it still. And then, interestingly enough, it looks like the battle with Ishii is finally starting in the Blight. I'm pretty certain, like, as soon as, or kind of as they made their way and make their way in further into the Blight, Rand is finally going to come face to face with Ba'alzamon, the Dark One, as he and Moiraine believe him to be presently. I think he's going to start playing these kind of games with his mind and, you know, doing tricks and playing upon him. And I think we're going to start to see that happen very early on in the episode, most likely, because we also know we're going to be getting some sorts of flashbacks and flash forwards, and these are kind of what Ishamael is using to kind of, I would say, and suggest perhaps bargain with Rand, but also kind of influence him as well into going in a certain direction that he wants and intends him to go down towards. And I think obviously in this particular moment, Rand has had one of those sorts of moments, and he can obviously quite clearly see that he knows where both he and Moiraine are within the Blight, and that he's coming for the pair of them. So it's really intriguing. I think that's going to be something that plays out for quite a extended amount of time within their kind of journey through the Blight. But that will, of course, all depend on just how much time we spend in the journey towards the Eye of the World while within the Blight. So it could be very short, it could be very brief, or it could be quite an extended sequence of events that we see, you know, throughout that process. And then we've got some really amazing shots of not one but two fades within the Faldara keep, and they have just killed two soldiers, and it seems quite easily at that. So I wonder whether we're going to get that sort of kind of Padan Fain moment happen. Maybe Fain will get caught, and these two fades have come in for Fain. I don't know, I could be reaching at that because the way things have played out in 7 and 6 haven't necessarily made it look like that's the route they're going to go. And it could just be the fact that they got overrun by the vast horde of Trollocs and Fades, and they've just made the raid, you know, naturally inside the Faldara fortress. But then right after that, we've got a moment and a scene here which I am pretty certain I know what happens in it. And this involves Moiraine, as we can quite clearly see. Now, what I believe this is. Now, this is quite spoilery, so perhaps if you don't want to know what I'm talking about here and you just want to kind of witness it yourself, maybe, skip ahead. I'll leave a kind of time jumped, not that, I will leave a time for you to skip forward to, so you don't have to listen to what I have to say. But anyway, for those that want to stay, this is what I believe happened. So we got a leak from the BBFC, which I think is the British Board of Film Classification, where they let out some quite revealing spoilers for this final episode in terms of certain kind of violent moments that happen. Now, one of those was that a woman gets stabbed through her mouth. Now, I don't know about you, but this very brief shot of Moiraine has all the makings and hallmarks to me of that very moment being, that very moment happening to Moiraine. So that's really intriguing to see. If it's not that, it looks like she's got something obviously kind of going on within the insides of her body, or just perhaps in her throat area. Maybe this is kind of one of those scenes that Rand is kind of hallucinating in, and it's not necessarily what's actually happening to Moiraine. But if I was to have a complete and utter guess and say this is what I believe to be happening, I would say this is one of the violent scenes where Moiraine unfortunately gets stabbed through the mouth. Now, what that means for the character and whether she survives such a brutal assault is a lot to be seen and watched in the episode, if that is the case, because a lot of people are starting to think and wonder whether Moiraine even makes it past this final episode of the first season, and whether we get her even at all in season 2 moving forward. And I think with these leaks, it would seem like we're going to lose some key women from the first season, because we have not only the stabbing through the mouth, which you would expect whoever the woman is that has that happen to them, then just going to kind of bite the dust with that. But on top of that, we have 2 decapitations of 2 further women. So it would seem there are going to be 3 women that kind of lose their lives in this episode. Now, of course, these could be flashbacks, these could be hallucinations, there could be all sorts of kind of clever misplays, misdirections from the director, and just how they're editing the sequences, and from the writers. And so we might not lose any of them, but I would hazard a guess we could lose a few main characters in this final episode, and that's going to be quite a change from the books, as we know. So yeah, it's really interesting to see what's going to happen, and of course exciting. And then we've got the Trolloc Horde kind of breaking into the Faldara Keep, I would presume here. And then we've got Lady Amilisa all kind of decked out in her armour. I would say she's got a sword in the hand that's very dark, so I think that might not be the case. I think Lady Amilisa might be the one directing all the female channelers, and I think that's what we're going to see. I think she's going to be kind of the main conduit, if you want to say it like that, where she will be, taking in all the one power from all the other women within the Faldara Keep that can channel, and she'll be like the main link, the head of the link, that she will be using the one power from everyone to direct it and to kind of kill the Trollocs, as we saw in the leaked kind of gifs maybe a week or so ago. So I think these scenes are going to look so cool, so stunning to see on screen. And then yeah, that is basically the end of that final Wheel of Time teaser. My lord, we've got a lot that's going to be jam-packed into this episode. And not only that, I also think we're going to get our first sighting of the Saunshan. I think that's very much going to be maybe towards the end of the episode, and they're going to kind of show up, and they're going to be one of the main antagonists in season 2. I think that's what's going to happen there, because we've had kind of little nuggets put here and there in a few of the episodes. We had it when Moiraine was speaking to Moiraine in their hidden kind of meeting they had, I believe in episode 5, The Flame of Tarwin. We also had, I believe there was one other instance where it was mentioned as well. So that's what I think is going to be kind of the kind of hidden nugget, if you want to call it that, when it comes to this final episode. Anyway, that is the video. Right, I think we will later tonight have the preview images for episode 8. Fingers crossed, hopefully they do show us them. So yeah, be sure to be on the lookout for that on the channel, because I will have them up as soon as they do get released. Of course, if they do. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, of course, I'm happy you have. And if you did, please leave a like on the video. And any comments you have regarding this final preview, do of course leave them in the comment section down below. Right everyone, I will see you all, hopefully fingers crossed, later tonight with some episode 8 preview photos.